This is Marty with Marty's Diesel, and today's video is going to be a real short one. It's just going to talk about sending units. Sending units on the old body style trucks. Usually, we do not need to replace them. Usually, I can tell my customers what they need to do in order to make them work properly again. And I got another video that shows like how to test if your sending unit, float level is sending the right ohms to your cluster or not. So you might want to check that video out. If you're having an issue with your fuel level gauge on your dash. If you're having a fuel level gauge on your dash and you suspect that it's going to be your sending unit, you got to do that test. So let's say that you don't have a fuel level gauge issue on your dash and your selector valve is plugged in, your sending unit, gets plugged in, and the sending unit is sending the correct level to your dash. So we don't need to worry about the electrical side of the sending unit. All you need to do is take a look at the sending unit itself, make sure it's not rusted on the top. They typically like to rust out where the tubes are brazed into the sending unit top itself. Beyond that, you want to look at the bottom side of the sending unit. You want to make sure that the umbrella is there and present and in good shape, not broken down. You also want to make sure that the tubes are not clogged. So it's always a good idea that while you have the sending unit out, to blow them out while there's no hoses connected to them. Make sure they are free from debris. Actually, let's go back to the top side real quick. You can also look for pitting. Any time that the quick disconnect goes on and off of that thing, you'll be able to see where the O-ring stops on the sending unit. If there's pitting at the O-ring or near the O-ring, I do recommend that you replace the sending unit because that can be a place that it will either leak if it's on the return side or where it will suck air if it's on the feed side. Going back underneath, obviously you just make sure the float operates how it should. Make sure your umbrella is on there and in good shape. And then beyond that, you just got to make sure that when you reinstall it, especially if you put a new tank in or you put a new umbrella on, you need to make sure that the sending unit does not sit proud of the tank itself. If it sits proud of the tank and then you just kind of smash it down in there, you're going to actually mess up the umbrella that's on the bottom of that sending unit. And this is really common when people, have to put new sending units in or they have to put new tanks in. Let's be honest, this, setup is like 30 years old at this point, so nothing that you get aftermarket is going to fit perfectly. You're going to have a little bit of attention to detail and make sure that that doesn't happen. You got to make sure it doesn't sit proud. You got to make sure you look in through the filler neck and make sure that once it's fully installed, that umbrella sits just a little bit off the bottom. You definitely don't want to have that thing suction cupped to the bottom of the tank. That's no good. You're going to kill whatever fuel pump you have on your truck, and or you're going to actually break the center right out of that umbrella, and then that umbrella, is going to float away. And then you're not going to have any screen inside the tank. And you should have a screen inside the tank when you're dealing with, a factory pickup tube and factory fuel system. Definitely with a selector valve. You have to have an umbrella if you're dealing with a selector valve. I know there's people out there that have run it like that for years, and they've been lucky. That's what it boils down to. I deal with thousands of different people that have old body style trucks, and one of the most common things I get a phone call about is umbrellas that have broken off, and they're either broken off and they're little particles and they're stuck in the pickup tube, and or worst case stuck inside the selector valve. That creates a whole nother problem for another video that I've already done. So anyway, realistically with the sending unit, if the electrical side is good and mechanically speaking everything else is fine as well, there's no reason to replace your sending unit. You just need to make sure that when you go to reinstall everything, that you make sure that the sending unit doesn't sit proud of the tank before you push it down. And then also make sure when you get that lock ring in there, make sure you don't miss one of the tabs. If you do, the next time you fill your truck up, you're going to be leaking fuel out of that sending unit O-ring. That's all for today. Thanks.